Um, Let me introduce briefly our speaker, who is the same speaker we have been honored to have over the last 2 years, Moulana Syed Ali Aqib Jaffry. Hujjatul Islam, Moulana Ali Aqib Jaffry obtained his bachelor's in electrical engineering from the University of Engineering and Technology, Lahore, and was awarded the President's Gold Medal for securing the top position. After that, he proceeded to the US, where he completed a master's in computer engineering at the University of Washington in Seattle. He then responded to a calling he had long had to pursue higher religious studies and relocated to Qom in the mid-2000s. There he completed a master's in Islamic studies and is currently a student of Dars-e-Kharij, which you know is the highest level of instruction in Shia Islam. Moulana Jaffry has lectured and conducted workshops around the world on a wide range of topics, from theology to fiqh to practical issues such as marriage, inheritance, and khums. He has recited an ashra at this venue for the last 2 years, and this year he will be speaking on the topic of Karbala, the ultimate trial. So without further ado, let me request Hujjatul Islam Moulana Ali Aqib Jaffry to take the minbar with a loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا بالقاسم محمد صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين المعصومين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وخطابه المتين، وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. صلوا على محمد وعلى محمد. In this verse of the Holy Quran, Surah Ankabut, verse number 2, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing to a very important sunnah of His, a very important way, a very important principle that governs this world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a lot of principles that are ruling over this world. And those principles, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has claimed that you will not find any change in those principles. وَلَن تَجِدَ لَسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. You will not find any change in my ways, in my sunnah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have created this world instantaneously, but He did not do that. He used a process. He appointed angels to do certain tasks for Him. Allah was not in need of angels to do those tasks for Him. This is one of the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He wants things to follow their due process. This is one of the sunnahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this verse, that inshallah will be the topic of our discussion in the coming days as well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing to yet another important sunnah of His. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا. Do people think that they will be let alone, they will be left alone? أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا. That they have said, آمَنَّا. We have believed. The fact that you say that I have believed, the fact that you have said La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Salli ala Muhammad wa alayhi and Aliyun waliyullah alayhi salatu wassalam. Do you think that that is the end? Your duty is done? No, certainly not. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسَ أَن يُتْرَكُوا. Do you think that they will be left alone, that they have said we have believed, وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ, while they have not been tested? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is declaring that He is going to test each and every one. It did not say mu'mineen, hasiban nas, people, which includes everyone. This is a sunnah. There are other sunnahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, another principle that governs this world, kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Everyone is going to taste death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make each and every one of us, whether you are the Khalilullah or the Habibullah, everyone has to go through this. There is no exception. And again, the holy verse that talks about the creation of death and life, the hikmat and the wisdom behind it, again the same that this verse of Surah Ankabut is pointing to. خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةِ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. We created death and life so that we could test whoever amongst you does the best of the deed. The purpose of creation of death and life again goes back to azmaish, again goes back to trial and testing the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is going to test us. Nobody is going to escape death. Hazrat Luqman said to his son, he said, if you think that you can escape death, try not sleeping. You'll not be able to escape sleep. You cannot escape sleep. Sleep is known as the akhul maut, the brother or sister of death. If you think you can escape death, try not sleeping. And if you think you can escape the day of resurrection, try not waking up. Try not waking up. Neither you can escape death, nor can you escape the day of resurrection. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to gather each and every individual on that day and will show them يَوْمَ الْتُبْلَ السَّرَائِرِ, the day when your hidden realities will become manifest. On that day, in this world, our realities are hidden. We all appear humans, but behind every human there is an angel, or someone better than an angel, or a wild beast, or someone worse than the beast. On that day, the hidden realities will become manifest. So we all have to pass through death, whether it is the Khalil of Allah, the friend of Allah, or the beloved of Allah. We read in the riwayat, when the angel of death came to Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, who was the Khalilullah, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, when he saw him, he said, "Adha'irun anta am da'in?" Have you come to visit me or take me? He said, "Bal da'in," I've come to take you. He said Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he had a special relationship with God. Such a special relationship that at times he would even bypass the angel and would want to communicate directly with God. You all must have heard when he was thrown in the fire of Namrud. At that time, the angel Jibreel became stressed and anxious, and he said to Allah, your servant is thrown in the hellfire. And Allah said, why don't you go and talk to him? Angel Jibreel comes to Hazrat Ibrahim ﷺ, says, don't you have any haja? Don't you have any need? Don't you have a prayer to make? He said, yes, I have. He said, then say it. He said, but my hajat is not towards you, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, then say it. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says that Allah knows my situation better than my words, better than me. So such a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the angel of death comes to take him, and he asks, have you come to visit me or take me? He says, I've come to take you. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam replies, Hal ra'ayta khalilan yumito khalila? Have you seen a friend who kills his friend? Have you seen a friend who kills his friend? The angel had no response. He could not reply. He went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said, oh Allah, you have verily, truly, you have heard what your servant has said. What is my duty? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, go back to him and say to him, Hal ra'ayta habiban yakrahu liqa'a habibih? Have you seen a lover who detests the meeting of his beloved? क्या आपने ऐसा महबूब देखा है जो अपने महबूब से मिलने में कराहत रखता हो? Your Lord wants to meet you. And Hazrat Ibrahim surrendered and submitted, and the angel took his life. So this rule of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is universal. Nobody is going to escape death. Another sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the Quran refers to, and that is of social nature, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change the situation of any nation unless they change their own themselves. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change the state of a nation hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim, unless they themselves change their own selves. This is not going to happen if we want change in the society and we do not change ourselves. It does not matter who the leader is. It does not matter where you live. We have to change ourselves. And if a nation does not fulfill the responsibility of change and the responsibility of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, then there is another sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that kicks in. A nation that stops doing Amr bil Ma'ruf, commanding towards good and forbidding towards evil, the very purpose of the movement of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. The prime purpose, the prime reason that Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, we can have many reasons why Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam stood up against Yazid. But the reason that he mentioned in his wasiyah, in his will, إنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي أريد أن آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر. I want to do Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. This is his stated purpose of his movement. In one of the Hadith al-Qudsi, we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to Hazrat Shu'aib alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, I'm going to punish 100,000 of your ummah. 100,000 people from your ummah will be punished. 40,000 of them will be the wicked and the zalimeen, and 60,000 will be the pious people. He was surprised, and he asked, as per the wicked are concerned, I know, but why the pious people? Allah responded that because they did not object to the wicked deeds. Because they were content, they were okay. They let them do what they did and they did not express their anger while I was angry at their deeds. They did not align their ghazab with my ghazab. That is why they will be punished. So 60,000 of his ummah will be those pious people who prayed and who did good deeds. They will be punished, and only 40,000 of the wicked people. If a nation leaves Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. So this is another principle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that governs the functioning of this world. Yet another, and any dua that we make that goes against the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be accepted by Allah. You know, one of the issues that we have, especially the youth, is that we get partial information. We learn certain sunnahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we do not know, or we fail to learn or acquire knowledge of the other sunnahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, one of the sunnahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He is going to give rizq to His creation. But that does not mean that we do not have an obligation to go and struggle and earn our livelihood. This is another sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is not going to accept the du'as of certain people. In the tradition, we find that the Holy Prophet says, from my ummah there are certain people, la yustajabu lahum. Their du'as will not be accepted. In another tradition, in another riwayah, we find 5 people, khamsatun la yustajabu lahum. Their du'as will not be accepted. In another tradition, 4 groups of people, their du'as will not be accepted. Then the tradition lists those people. Number 1, rajulun yadu ala walidayh. A person who prays against his parents, who does bad dua to his parents, Allah will not accept his prayers. Number 2, on the flip side, there are tradition which says that the bad dua of a father against his son is immediately accepted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not delay. Whereas when a mother curses her child, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not hasten in accepting that bad dua. But when a father does bad dua towards his child, that is immediately accepted. Beware of taking your relationship to a point that parents do bad dua to their children. Number 2, rajulun yad'u ala gharimin zahaba lahu bimalin. A person who is praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala against a person who has taken loan from him and is not paying it back. And he's doing bad dua for him. Allah says, I'm not going to accept his prayers. Reason, he gave loan, falam yaktub alayhi walam yashhad alayhi, and he did not have any document, did not take any documentation, nor did he take any witnesses. You're given loan to someone without witnesses and without documentation. There is no way you can have a claim on that person in the court of law in this dunya. And if you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will not accept your prayers. What about on the day of judgment? Can I take this case against that person in the day of judgment and take his good rewards? Or give some of my bad deeds to him? No, not even there. Because you did not follow the process that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had prescribed. So even on the day of judgment, this is a loan that is wasted. And if you look at the nature of the disputes that occurs, a lot of the disputes that occurs in our communities are related to monetary dealings, either improper documentation. And some people even say, even if we have proper documentation, that person is not going to return to me, or the courts in these worlds are not efficient and enabled to have that person return the money. Well, if you don't get your money in this world, you'll be able to get the good deeds of the other person in the hereafter. The documentation will help you, if not in this dunya, in the hereafter. The longest verse of the Holy Quran. Which verse is that? The longest verse of the Holy Quran. Surah Baqarah 186. Starts from the top of the page and ends at the bottom of the page. The longest ayah talks about loan. And if you read that verse, it's very precise and very delicate. They're very delicate points. Whenever you give a loan, document it. To the extent that it even mentions who should dictate the words of the document. Who should dictate the words of the document? The one who is taking the loan, not the one who is giving the loan. Because he has an upper hand, he has the power of, he's coming from an authoritative position. The one who is taking the loan, he will have a soft corner when he is writing that document. So he is the one who is supposed to dictate what is being written in the loan document. Where are you going to find such delicacies being taken care of other than Islam? Nowhere. So a person who has given loan and has no documentation or witness, Allah will not accept his prayers. Rajulun yad'u ala imratihi, a person who is in pain, who is suffering because of his wife, and he wants to separate. And he prays against his wife for separation. He prays to Allah that they be separated. Allah is not going to accept his prayers. And Allah would say, I have given the key of separation in your own hands. You have been given the authority to issue the sigha, the verdict of divorce. Why are you praying to me? You have the solution in your own hands. So any dua that goes against the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be accepted. If a person prays that, oh Allah, I want to live in this world forever, this dua will not be accepted. If a person prays that, Allah, do not test me in this dunya, this prayer will not be accepted. And at the final group, or the fourth group whose dua will not be accepted, is the rajulun yaq'adu fi baytihi, is a person who sits in his house and he prays, Rabbi urzuqni, oh Lord, provide me rizq, give me rizq. But he does not leave the room and he does not go out in search of his livelihood. Allah says, I'm not going to fulfill his dua. So if you know one part and you do not know the other part, Allah has promised livelihood, but He wants you to move as well. In Farsi there's a proverb, Harkat as Shuma, Barkat as Khuda. You move, you make an effort, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide risk. So if people sit down in their homes and ask for risk of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the risk will not come. He has promised you have to make an effort. You have to open your shop. You have to go out in search of it. There's an interesting story that one of the students of the Hausa, when he went to the Hausa and he found out that Allah has taken promise of the risk, well, he said, then I'm not going to ask anybody for risk. And Allah is going to provide it to me. So he sat in his room and the time for lunch came and He stayed hungry. Rizq did not come to him. Then at Maghrib time, he realized that there's somebody had sent food and the food boxes are being distributed and everybody's standing in the line and taking their share. He said, but I'm not going to go and ask. Rizq needs to come to me. So he sat in his room. He stayed in his room. And the line was over and there were a few boxes left and the person decided to send his servant to check in the rooms if there's anybody who did not get his due share and we can give it to them. So a person came to his room and he was sitting in the corner in such a way that he did not see him. So he opened the door, he saw here and there, he could not see him. And as he was about to leave, he made a noise. And then he realized there's somebody in the room and he asked him, this is your share. So next day he came to his student and he said, yes, I've realized that the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is true. Rizq will come to you, but you'll have to say, you will have to make some effort. Without that effort, rizq will not come to you. Allah would say to this person, did I not create the channels of rizq for you and did I not give you healthy bodily parts? Use them. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make sure that the rizq comes to you. Another sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My topic is not the sunnahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we'll be talking about one of the sunnahs in particular, but I found it necessary to list a few of the sunnahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the sunnahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala which you also can extract from this tradition, that Allah will not accept the du'as of certain people. Those people wanted Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to skip the sabab, the ways that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed for things to happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided, in the tradition it says, Aballahu an yujriyal ashya illa bi asbabin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like except that things should happen through their sababs, through their causes. This is one of the sunnahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Things should take place through their causes. He has appointed the angels of rain, He has appointed the angel of death, He has appointed the angel of rizq, He has appointed the channels of rizq. He wants rizq to come to us through those channels. And anyone wanting to bypass those channels would be going against the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that will not happen. This is the sunnah, that He wants things to take their natural course. The tradition goes on and it says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like except that the things should take their natural course, that should happen through the causes. فَجَعَلَ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا. So He appointed for everything a cause. جَعَلَ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا وَجَعَلَ لِكُلِّ سَبَبٍ شَرْحًا. And He explained and He opened up an explanation for every sabab. So for everything there is a sabab, and for every sabab there is a sharh. وَجَعَلَ لِكُلِّ شَرْحٍ إِلْمًا. And for every sharh there is an ilm behind it. And the tradition says وَجَعَلَ لِكُلِّ إِلْمٍ بَابًا نَاطِقًا. And He appointed for every ilm a speaking door. A bab natiq, a door that speaks. Then it says, Arafahu man arafahu wa jahilahu man jahilahu. जो इस दरवाजे को पहचान ले वो सबब तक पहुंच गया. Whoever knows this door, whoever finds out this door will reach the shay, the sabab that he wants to get to. And whoever is ignorant of this door will be ignorant of that. And then at the end he says, وَذَاكَ, and that door, وَذَاكَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ وَنَحْنُ. And that door is the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and us. They are the doors to every knowledge. It is from this household that you will find knowledge. It is through this household that you will find everything. You'll find knowledge, you'll find wisdom, you'll find the ideals from this household. This is the household that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed as the Baban Natiqa, the door that speaks. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed a sabab. One of the youths asked a very interesting question. He said, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had to use all these asbab, these causes to generate this universe? Why did he not create it in a single day? He could have said be and it would have become. Why has he chosen these causes? The causes for rain, for earthquakes, for volcanoes and thunderstorms. Everything has a cause. Allah did not need these causes. Allah could have commanded and it would have happened. Why is Allah dependent on these? Why has Allah chosen it to be like that? There could be many reasons and wisdoms behind it. But one likely and possible reason behind it is that imagine if Allah decided to do things, and whenever He wanted to do things, He would say, Kun, be, and it became. What would be our outlook? How would we view this world then? Would there be any cause that we would be able to find for the events that would take place? No. You wouldn't find a cause for rain. You wouldn't find a cause for snow. There would be no cause behind the things that would happen. There would be no intellectual and academic progress. What are the scientists doing? They research for the causes that are unknown. They believe in the theory of cause and effect. That is why you have all these disciplines. That is what the scientists are looking for. Why does this happen? What is the reason behind it? If things were, and the fact that we believe in cause and theory, still there is a big chunk of people who believe that this universe came into being accidentally. Imagine if everything was accidental. The door to prove the existence of God would have closed. I hope I'm able to communicate what I want to communicate. If everything was accidental, people would not believe in cause and effect. And when there is no belief in cause and effect, then our logical arguments to prove the existence of God would cease to exist. And if the Prophet would say things happen whenever God says it happens, there would be no way to prove that, because nobody would believe it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen this, has placed these causes for multiple reasons. One possible reason is that those who want to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the intellectual and logical path to reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stays available for those who want to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why He has appointed these asbab, and He does not want except that things should take their natural, they follow the courses, the causes that He has appointed. The sunnah that we are going to discuss is the sunnah of ibtala, the sunnah of imtihan. Ahasib an-nas, do people think that they will be left alone, that they have said, an yaqulu amanna, we believed, وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ, and they will not be tested? No. لَقَدْ فَتَنَّ, the next verse, لَقَدْ فَتَنَّ الَّذِينَ, verily we have tested those who were before them. Everyone has been tested. There is not a single person who has not been tested. Everyone has been tested, everyone is being tested, and everyone will be tested. Now, our understanding of test needs to be upgraded. We think that we are tested when we are in difficult times. That's why some of us pray that Parvardigara hame azmaish mein na dalna. This dua is not to be made, it is not going to be accepted. It is a dua that goes against the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Nahjul Balagha, Amirul Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam, has said that do not make this dua, azmaish mein na dalna, do not test us. This is not going to happen. If you want to make a dua, make this dua. O Parvardigar, Ay Allah, hame gumrah kun fitnon mein mubtala na karna. Do not test us with an exam, with a test that I will fail. The fact that you will be tested is a fact. And do not think that you will be tested only in difficult times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test you with difficult times, and He will test you with good times. In whatever state you are being tested. We all are being tested. He tests someone by giving them children, and He tests others by holding back children. He tests someone by taking back children, and He tests others by letting their children live. Both are being tested. The one who has lost their child is not the one who's being tested only. The one whose children are living and are growing and are healthy, they are also being tested. And when you make this dua, Ya Allah, mujhe rizq ata kar. Oh Allah, bless me with rizq, with sustenance. Or Ya Allah, bless me with children. The essential dua that you're making is that, oh Allah, test me with children. This is the dua that you're making. Don't test me, don't give me the test of childlessness. Parvardigara, mujhe rizq ata kar. The dua that you're essentially making, that, oh Allah, test me with wealth. Don't test me with poverty. Both are being tested. The person who is poor, he is also being tested. Does he do sabr in that state? And the one who has been blessed with wealth, he is also being tested. Does he do shukr in that state and spends his wealth where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants his wealth to be spent? When He gives you intelligence, a high IQ, again you are being tested. This is one of the assets. One of the writers had written, talking about the wonders of human brain. He said the human brain, there should be a tax on human brain, because it's such an asset. Those who have been given an intelligence or intelligent brain, they are also being tested. How are they going to use their intelligence? It is not that you will be tested only in difficult trials. That is an obvious and manifest exam. In difficult times, you know that you are being tested, but when there is silence and when you don't face difficulties, life is going smooth, that is a difficult test to pass. That is a difficult test to pass. I'll be closing, inshallah, we'll be talking about the different tests and the different ways Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us, and the levels of tests that are out there, and what is the purpose, why He tests us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything. Why would He want to examine us? He knows the outcome of our tests. Then why did He create us? He created us to test us. What are the different things, different ways in which He tests us? I would like to close today's majlis with an incident in the life of our Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salatu wassalam, where he was tested by his Imam. We all strive to see our Imam, but even meeting our Imam will be a test for us. The tradition says that Safwan, one of the companions of our Imam, came to see the Imam. He is known as Safwan-e-Jammal. He had lots of camels. That is why he was called the camel owner. And the Imam, when he sees him, the Imam says, beautiful statement, he says, Kullu shay'in minka hasan. Everything from you is good. If the Imam says that to one of his companions, Kullu shay'in minka hasan, everything from you is hasan, is good. It's a big compliment. Kullu shay'in minka hasanun jameel ma khala shay'an wahidan, except for one thing. There's only one aib in you, there's only one bad, there's one vice in you. He said, Ayyu shay'in. Now this, I would like you to see the test that this companion of Imam has to go through as this dialogue proceeds. He says, Ayyu shay'in, which thing is bad in me? He said that you rented your camels to this person, referring to Harun Rashid, the king of that time. You rented your camels to this person. I did not like this thing of yours. And he was surprised. He said, Wallah, say by Allah, I did not rent my camels so that he should engage in lahv and la'ab, or he should go hunting with them. I rented it to him so that he would go to Hajj. The reason I rented my camels for his Hajj journey, and I'm not going to go with him. I will send my workers, my servants with him. So he did not see anything wrong in this act of his. You rented your camels to this person. The Imam responded, he said, will he pay you the rent of these camels? So it's a business transaction. He rented his camels to someone who's going to go to Hajj. Is there anything wrong in it? Apparently not. The Imam said to his companion, I did not like this thing of yours. This is the only thing that is bad in you. The Imam said, is he going to pay back you the rent of these camels? He said, Naam, yes. He said, would you wish in your heart that he stays alive for the entire journey so that he can come back and pay you the rent? He said, yes. He said, فَمَنْ أَحَبَّ بَقَاءَهُمْ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. Whoever loves a person to live longer is from them. مَنْ أَحَبَّ بَقَاءَهُمْ. Whoever wishes for their baqa, for their long life, فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. He is from them. وَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْهُمْ كَانَ وَرَدَ النَّارِ. And whoever is from them will enter the hellfire. For some companions, the test that they should not have a feeling within themselves for the enemies to live longer. This is a very relevant point here. For example, sometimes we seek personal gains over our social gains. We give preference to personal gains. Those who have, because of the depreciation of the Pak rupee, a lot of people have converted their money into dollars. It is okay if you want to protect the wealth. But those who are wishing and willing that the dollar rate goes up because they have a lot of dollars, they have saved a lot of dollars, are actually wishing the evil of for the society. So there is a parallel that we can draw here. The Imam says, would you have this feeling that he lives longer? He said, yes. Whoever lives for the longer life is from amongst them. Now this person now, the Imam has put him under test. He goes and he sells all of his camels. Harun Rashid learns about it. He calls him. He said, I've heard you have sold all your camels. Why did you do that? Imagine you have a contract with the president or the prime minister, and then you go against the wishes. You do something to hurt that contract. You're playing with your life. So Harun Rashid calls him. He said, I know who guided you to do this. He said, no, I've grown old and my servants don't listen to me, so I've sold my camels. He said, no, I know who guided you to this. Musa ibn Ja'far ﷺ guided you to this. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And he said, don't try to defend him. I know who guided you to this. And if it was not the good terms that I had with you, I would have killed you. This person, when he went to see his Imam, the statement that the Imam gave, he was put under test. And he successfully passed that test. By risking his life, he could have been killed. It depends on what the king of that time decided. We all will be tested with different degrees. The higher your capabilities, the closer you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the greater your test is going to be. That is why our ulama in the past would say this statement, fazilat jo badi thi, to musibat bhi badi thi. The greater the fazail, the greater the virtues, the greater the trial. The event of Karbala in itself was a trial for the ummah of that time. It was a trial for everyone. It was a trial for Imam Hussein, his companions, his family members, his children, his youth, the enemies of Islam. And it continues to be a trial for all times to come till the Day of Judgment. How we look at this incident, which side we strive to be in. This is also a test. When you come to this majlis, and when you listen to the musibah, and you wish that you were with the Imam, and those who wish, they were happy with what had happened, what transpired in Karbala. We are all being tested. Which side you choose is as if you are in Karbala and you are making your choice. That's why in one of the statements, when Imam Reza alayhi salatu wassalam said to his companions, he said, if you want to get the thawab of those who were martyred along with Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam, so then whenever you remember Imam, say, Ya laytani kuntu ma'ahum fa'afuza fawzan azima. I wish I was with them. This desire, this niyyah to be with the Imam, it will be as if we had sided with the Imam at that time. Today is the 1st of Muharram. A person comes to the Imam and asks him a strange question, and I'm sure this question might have crossed your minds at one point in your life. He said that when a person leaves this world, people commemorate, people hold majlis on their shahadat nights. When Imam Ali Islam passed, you hold the majlis on the night of the 19th, when at the Shab-e-Zarbat. When on the other Imams, you hold their majalis on the night of their shahadat. But I see that you and your Shias commemorate the Shahadat of Aba Abdullah. They start the commemoration 10 days before his Shahada. What is the reason behind it? 10 days. You should have started it from the day of Ashur. The Imam responds, we do this because we have seen our Imams do this. We follow our Imams. Our Imams started the commemoration on the 1st of Muharram, and that is why we hold our majalises from the 1st of Muharram. But when the Imam was asked, Imam gave a beautiful reply. He said, when the Muharram crescent appears, जब मुहर्रम का चांद नमूदार होता है, when the crescent of Muharram appears, the angels in the heavens, they take out the shirt of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam, the shirt that is drenched in blood, the shirt that is torn from so many pieces because of the sword cuts. The angels take that out with the permission of Allah and they spread it in the skies. They present that shirt to the inhabitants of this dunya. And we, the Ahlul Bayt and our Shias, look at that shirt with our eyes of basira. And when we see that shirt, tears begins to flow from our eyes. This is the secret behind starting the commemoration. These majalises that are happening tonight and today, they're a replica of what is happening in Arsh at this time. The Farsh-e-Aza, before we start the Farsh-e-Aza here, the angels have spread the Arsh-e-Aza in the heavens. According to one of the another traditions, whenever Muharram would come, the Imam would ask if there is a Marsiya Khan, if there is a poet who would say verses for the Shahadat of Imam Hussain. And when they would find someone, he was invited and the Imam would hang a curtain. The women would sit on one side and the men would sit on the other side. And the Imam would ask him to recite. Our fourth Imam, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, who is an eyewitness to what happened in Karbala, he would ask the Imam to recite, the poet to recite. The poet would recite, but he would be shy in front of the Imam. How can I recite the Shahadat before an Imam who has actually witnessed everything? He would be shy, and the Imam would say, no, don't recite like this. Recite the way you recite in public. जिस तरह लोगों में हैजान के साथ, शोर और वलवले के साथ पढ़ते हैं, उस तरह मेरे सामने पढ़ो. He would recite like that, and the Imam and the Ahlul Bayt would weep over the martyrdom of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. It was the 1st of Muharram when Rayyan ibn Shabib, Rayyan the son of Shabib, came to see the Imam. The Imam saw him and asked him, are you fasting? He said, no. Then the Imam said, this day of Muharram, the 1st of Muharram, is the day in which Hazrat Zakaria prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a child. And Allah accepted his prayers when he prayed in Mihrab. So whoever fasts on the 1st of Muharram and he prays to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his hajat, Allah will accept his hajat in the same way he accepted the hajat of Hazrat Zakaria. Then he introduced this month. He said, Yabna Shabib, this is the month which even in the days of Jahiliyyah, in the days of ignorance, people used to consider this month a holy month, and due to its sanctity, they would temporarily suspend battle in this month. And they would stop injustice in this month. But the Ummah of the Holy Prophet did not upheld the sanctity of this month, and neither did they hold the sanctity of their Holy Prophet. لَقَدْ قَتَلُوا فِي هَذَا الشَّهْرِ ذُرِّيَّتَهُ. They slaughtered his zuriyah, his holy progeny, in this holy month, and they took their daughters and their women as captives, and they looted their property. Allah is never going to forgive them. Then he turned to Ibn Shabib and he said, Yabna Shabib, in kunta bakiyan li shay'in, if you feel like crying over anything, فَبْكِي لِلْحُسَيْنِ ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, then you should cry over Hussein ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. Why? فَإِنَّهُ ذُبِحَ كَمَا يُذْبَحُ الْكَبْشُ, because he was slaughtered just like a ram is slaughtered, just like an animal is slaughtered. That is the way my father was slaughtered. And not only that, وَقَتَلَ مَعَهُ مِنْ أَهْلِ بَيْتِهِ ثَمَانِيَةَ عَشَرَ رَجُلًا, and along with him 18 of his family members, the likes of which the world had not seen, were slaughtered on the day of Karbala. The heavens and the skies wept blood, and 4,000 angels descended from the sky to help the Imam. The Imam did not give them permission to help them to fight alongside. They went back to Allah and sought permission from Allah to help their Imam. And when they descended once again, they saw that Imam Hussein had been martyred in the plains of Karbala. Imam Hussein had been martyred in the plains of Karbala. Those 4,000 angels, they did not go back again in the skies. They are still there in the haram of Imam Hussein, with their faces covered with dust and with their hair scattered. They do the tawaf of the Imam Hussein's shrine, and they are waiting for the 12th Imam to reappear. And their slogan with the 12th Imam would be Ya Lafasarat Lafalarat al-Hussein. They will avenge the death of Imam Hussein with their 12th Imam. And then the Imam turned to Ibn Shabib and he said, if you want to be with your Prophet in Jannah, then you should do the la'nat. You should do the la'nat on the qatileen of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam. And if you want it, if you wish and if you like that you would meet your Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a state that all of your sins are forgiven, then you should go and do the ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam. Ala lanatullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin. We'll start with the Matam. Matam-e Hussein.